Hi everyone, my name is Alan. It's surprising when I hear the phrase, boys don't cry. You know, they do. But you don't always need a sad reason for that. My parents made a fortune out of it. Yeah, my tears. How? I'll tell you. As you know, tears are a physical manifestation of emotion. Some people cry not only when they are sad, but also from fear, despair, sometimes even anger and resentment. I, like all small children, cried when I didn't get something or when I got hit in the head by mother. But closer to the age of 5, not only my parents, but many people who saw me crying noticed that while I was whining, I was getting very handsome. Well, it wasn't that I was a freak with a smile, it was just that my face didn't look as wrinkled, red in snot as many people do at that moment. My tears flowed smoothly, in an even line down my cheeks, and I didn't blush one bit. My long eyelashes drove women crazy, and my mother began to make videos of me and put them on the internet. Videos collected a lot of views. The page was a success, and soon a regular account turned into a business account. I was noticed by many advertising agencies. A lot of offers for cooperation were sent to my mum's email. With each month, my popularity grew, and with it, the price of the issue. After 3 months, we did not notice how we started to make money from my tears. My father quit his job, and he and my mother dragged me from one studio to another. I wondered about that myself at first. How did my mother make me cry during filming? She had to scold me, and that's all. After all, I was small and very sensitive. And then the more experience I had in filming, the harder it was to get me to cry. Sometimes you had to scold me for an hour, not 10 minutes, to have even a short-term effect. But I'm no fool either. I realized that this was the system, and I began to see the work as a job. This made me feel more relaxed. And then the most interesting thing began. With my first accumulated capital, I asked my parents to buy me a toy, which I had long dreamed of. It was a talking robot. Yes, it didn't just repeat given phrases. It could conduct a short dialogue. Such a toy was rare, but I still begged for it. It became my best friend because I didn't have time to get a real one. I named him Rob. We played with him during breaks. Sometimes he even read out stories to me. At first, it was my parents' job, but they blew me off somehow smoothly. Mum, Dad, will you read to me before I go to bed? Not today, son. I'm so tired. I'm tired too. Tomorrow I'm shooting again. I have to get up early. Again? It's my birthday tomorrow. Oh, shit. Oh, no. You forgot? No, honey, no. It's just that my schedule is so packed that I don't even know if we'll have time to go out tomorrow. But you promised we'd go to the park. When did I promise? Last year, we didn't take him to the park, and I promised that we'll take him this year for sure. Oh, crap. But who knew that our life would change so much? Well, the good news is we're rich now. Yes, and as much as it sounds like we earned it on our son's tears. Ah. That's right. Aha. I'm still here and waiting for an answer. Let's decide tomorrow as we go along, okay? Go to sleep. Have a good night. I took a deep breath and then said okay and left. At this point, I wanted to cry more than ever. I locked myself in my room, lay down under the covers and cried. I felt really lousy and sad. I didn't know what to do. And then my robot wheeled up to me. I poked my head out from under the blanket and I said hello to him. Hi, why are you so sad? Because of Mum and Dad. That's just what happens when parents get a taste for money. I'm sorry your family is going through such a good period in life this way. What are you talking about? People are vain. They have a great weakness for money. And there is a very fine line between vanity and money. In fact, there's no such thing as one without the other. I don't know what you're talking about. You could teach your parents a lesson. But how? Stop crying. That's all. And yes, that was the idea. I mean, all I had to do was cry to make money, right? And what if I stopped doing that? Wouldn't we go back to the way it was? I'd get my bedtime stories back, walks in the park, and all that. That's what I wanted more than anything. In the morning, my parents quickly congratulated me, and we did. We didn't even have breakfast and ran out to the cars to get to the shoot. I stood in front of the camera, the script was read to me. I had to cry at the most important moment. It was such a social video. I sat down and didn't cry. My mother took me aside and, according to the old technique, started scolding me. Nothing came out. Then she tried to bargain with me. "I'll take you to the park today." "You're lying." "No, honestly, son, you just cry because we don't have much time. We won't make it to another shoot, and the contract is already signed. If we don't make it, or the shoot fails through our fault, Dad and I will have to pay a forfeit, and there's a lot of money." "So give it to me. I earned it." "Son, what kind of nonsense are you talking about? Don't make me resort to drastic measures." "Which ones?" "Why do you ask? Just cry a little." "I want to take the day off today." "That's not what we agreed." "Then don't expect a tear from me." All right, you win. I'll tell them you're sick." And that day became my day, just like I wanted it to be. My parents took me to the park and I rode everywhere I wanted to go. People signed autographs with my parents, sometimes took pictures with me, and Rob and I enjoyed the day. I was having a good time, but the day came to an end. They put me to bed and woke me up earlier in the morning than usual for another shoot. Really, I didn't feel like it. I tried, really tried, but I couldn't cry. Then some dude came up to my mum and gave her some eye drops. They gave them to me, but the tears wouldn't come out. My mum took me away, scolded me again, yelled at me, even tapped me lightly on the arm, but I still couldn't cry. I kinda cried, only without tears. I got my robot out while the adults dealt with the issue and we talked to him. "So, how's it going?" "Can't cry for some reason. Everyone is panicking. Don't know what to do." "Apparently your tear ducts have dried up." "How's that?" "It happens when you overpay. Or maybe you have this psychological mindset not to cry after our conversation." "What conversation?" I told her that on Rob's advice I didn't cry on my birthday to celebrate, and now I can't cry. Mum's face visibly flushed. She said, "Oh, that's who gave you the advice. That's who's to blame for everything here." I only had time to say, "Mum, don't," before she grabbed my robot and slammed it against the floor. The swarm shattered into neat little pieces, and with it my whole heart. After all, he was my only friend. After a few seconds, I felt my eyes burn. There was a fire in them. My chest was bursting with anger and resentment, and I screamed and covered my face with my hands. At that moment, the camera was pointed at me, and the spotlight was on. And when I opened my face, everyone was horrified. Instead of tears, some red liquid was coming out of my eyes. It looked just awful. The white in my eye turned red, the capillaries in my face burst, and my face became speckled. Everyone present froze in anticipation. No one knew what to do, and only my dad called an ambulance. At the hospital, they diagnosed me with an inflammation of the mucus ducts. Apparently, I cried so often and a lot that it affected the function of the lacrimal glands. But that's not all the side effects. My eyesight noticeably deteriorated due to the eye strain, and I have been prescribed a long treatment. But the most important thing was to refrain from filming. I was not even allowed to watch TV for more than 10 minutes a day, read books, and always wear sunglasses. On the other hand, I was happy, but on the other, not so much. My parents were the most upset of all, and understandably so, since my tears were our only source of income. Now Dad had to get a job again, and Mum had to devote more and more time to me. As for the robot, they didn't buy me a new one. They decided that it was unnecessary now, because now I spent more time on the street with the guys, even made a couple of friends. Well, how do I feel? I don't regret one bit that I managed to work in this field. After all, we made a fortune. Maybe someday I will return to this environment. Who knows? For now, I'm fine as it is. And what would you do in my place, friends? Would you want to cry as beautifully as I do? Tell me guys, did you like my story? Write your opinion about it in the comments below the video. Don't forget to give likes, share the video with your friends, and subscribe to the channel.
Hi, my name is Rachel, but you can call me Ray. I would like to share a story with you, but I don't tell it to many people because I'm ashamed and embarrassed. But now I've reached a turning point in my life. when I've begun to understand that sometimes some things in life do not depend on us at all, and all we have to do is accept them or reject them. I hope for your support. Write your opinion in the comments. It is priceless for me. Let's start with the fact that I grew up without a father. I've always, as I can remember, had a mom. I didn't know any other relatives, and it was perfectly normal for me to live like this. My mother and I had each other, and we didn't need anyone else. As time went on, I grew up, and along with it, I had questions about who my father was. But at each such moment, my mother reacted the same way. With aggression, she always called him a goat and said only that he had cheated on us, but how he cheated, why, and when, she did not tell. I knew it was bothering her, so I only asked about Dad 2 or 3 times. The last time, I got a slap in the face. By the way, this was also the norm at home. My mother often punished me, and for various things. For example, a poorly washed floor, not neatly folded dry clothes, and once I washed her white blouse and my sweatpants. I swear, I didn't even see that her blouse was in the washing machine, so I got hit so hard. I didn't go outside for 3 days after that because the bruises on my hands didn't go away. My mother beat my hands with a belt. Yes, she was always strict, terribly demanding. Each morning started with screams and ended with them too. And sometimes she screamed so much that she lost her voice, and then it was my fault again. I really wanted to be an obedient girl. I studied hard, always cleaned the house, cooked as best as I could, never went out with friends, as long as my mother was in a good mood. But every day I was waiting for the same thing. Screams, quarrels, screams, punishments. When my mother was particularly angry, she said that I was a burden that pulled her down, that if I wasn't there, she would be happy. How did that make me feel? Of course, it was terrible. I ran into my room after such words and cried all night. But then I calmed down and told myself that my mother was just tired. I still loved her, if only because she was the only one I had. Yes, we did not live very well. Sometimes it was barely enough to close all the accounts and buy food. That's also why we didn't allow ourselves much. But one day, there was a happy accident. Some unknown uncle came to our house. He called himself a lawyer and informed us that he worked for my mother's father and that he died, but left an inheritance in the form of a house for me, his granddaughter. It was a small house in another city. The lawyer brought a letter with warm words of regret that they did not communicate all these years, that he asks for forgiveness and gives us the property. I was standing in the other room at that moment and heard everything. How happy I was! Do I have a home of my own? I was so happy. I wanted to go to college, or at least move to another city and live, now that I have my own house. I was ready to squeal with joy. Mom signed the necessary documents and without really saying anything, took the keys and slammed the door. I ran out of the room happy, wanting to hug my mother and congratulate us on the purchase. Then I got slapped again. Why are you running? This is not your home. It's mine by right, and I will do what I want with it, she shouted. I begged her not to do anything wrong, but she said that I was underage, so she had the right to dispose of it without my knowledge. In short, my mother, as it turned out, held a grudge and resentment against her father due to the fact that one day they had a big fight and she left home. Grandfather didn't even try to stop her, so she didn't go back. Then she met my father, who, after finding out about her pregnancy, left, and since then, she has been angry with the whole world. I tried to persuade her not to sell the house, but she wouldn't listen. My mother sold it, along with my future, my plans and dreams. She felt that it was more important for her to close debts and loans with this money, so she did. And the rest of the amount my mother spent somewhere, but definitely not on me and not on the house. I have no idea what she did with it. The college that I had dreamed of for so long was also behind me, and at that moment, I realized that I no longer had anyone to help me. Summoning all the will in my fist, in my senior year, I began to look for places for a free education. I applied anywhere just to be accepted. I couldn't and didn't want to stay at home with my mother, because it became more and more difficult to talk to her every year. We didn't have a connection, and over the years, my mother and I became even more withdrawn. Besides, I couldn't forgive her for doing this to me, to my future. At that time, I was determined to leave and take care of myself on my own, because it wasn't safe to stay with her. That's what I did when I graduated from high school. I still got into a good college thanks to tests, although I was not physically active. I did not play sports. I do not have a creative gift, but I am smart. I studied a lot and always did everything conscientiously. I was accepted to the Faculty of Physiology, which I was happy about. I told my mother the day before I left. It was a terrible scandal, but I didn't listen to her. I just packed up and left. Ask me how I lived. It was hard for me because I didn't have much money and work, but I got out of it, got into debt, sold some of my things, and made some money over the summer. This was enough for me for the time being, but then I got a scholarship. In general, why I decided to share my story with you is so that you do not give up and do not betray your dreams. You know, not all parents are capable and have the ability to take care of their children. This happens and we either accept it or don't. For example, I could not accept it and did not want to. Since then, a couple of years have passed, and my life has changed dramatically, and I am happy. And as for Mom, she lives in the same way and in the same place, still works and doesn't want to see me. But I understand that this won't always be the case. She probably needs more time to digest the information. Oh no, in no case did I leave her, as she says about me and my father. I just ran away to arrange my future. Is that so bad? What would you do in my place? Share your opinion, please. I'm waiting for your comments and likes.